21 minutes past 5 on Wednesday. Let's hear a good news story from Cambridgeshire this afternoon, because a new drug for the treatment of multiple sclerosis developed in Cambridge over several decades has been approved for use by the National Institute for Healthcare Excellence. The drug, Lemtrada, should be available within months of today's approval. Professor Alistair Compston, who's Professor of Neurology and Head of the Department of Clinical Neurosciences at the University of Cambridge, has been telling me about the work which lay behind today's decision.
Well, this is very much a Cambridge story. The technology for making this medicine was developed in Cambridge in the 1970s, and this particular molecule, this drug, was made in 1984, and we started using it in 1991, and I've led the clinical trials program from the start. That's through the studies that we have done here at Addenbrooke's, and then international multi-centre studies, so-called phase 2, phase 3 studies, which have led to a license for the drug in 30 countries worldwide, and now today this approval from NICE that this is a drug which can be used in the National Health Service, but especially because this means that a drug which is highly effective for people with multiple sclerosis can now be used in the NHS. The drug is used early in the course of the illness, and it slows up or stops altogether the development of disability, and in a good proportion of people actually leads to recovery from existing disabilities. So yes, it's very good in a sense to have completed a story which began 23 years ago and which now will make a difference to people with this illness.
I understand it has a dual application in that it's both effective for those who've never undergone any form of treatment before for their MS, but also those who've gone through perhaps other treatments which have been less successful.
Yes, I mean, one of the lessons that we've learned very clearly over the years is that for a medicine like this, and indeed all of the other drugs which are available for people with multiple sclerosis, that they are best given relatively early in the course. And when NICE has really made a very sensible decision, in my view, is by making this drug available from the earliest possible stages in the newly diagnosed person. So this is an advance that a highly effective medicine can be used early in the course. As you have pointed out, there are patients who have already been on other drugs, and some of those haven't been helped. And our experience certainly does show that this particular drug can be useful even in those patients who've failed an existing therapy.
That's Professor Alistair Compston talking to us earlier on today. Well, it's a success story indeed for Cambridge. Anthony Dean from Cambridge, who was on the 2003 trial of the drug and remains symptom-free 11 years on, is with me this afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
And you are very well, fit and healthy?
Very fit and healthy, yeah. What
about the MS symptoms? Have they completely abated now?
Yeah, I just don't have any. It's bizarre. I've nothing. I haven't had anything since 2003. The last episode I had was in July 2003.
Have you been on the drug throughout since 2003?
No, the drug itself takes place of an infusion, a bit like chemotherapy, if you will, over 5 days in hospital. I had my first treatment in 2003, my next one in 2004, and I haven't taken a tablet, an injection, or anything else since.
Whereas previously, what was your health like?
In the year beforehand, I'd had lots of different symptoms. Pins and needles in my fingers, numbness down my right-hand side of my body. I lost sight in my left eye. But all these things were, as my multiple sclerosis is, relapsing, remitting, so they were coming, going. And up until the point that I went into hospital, I had these a couple of times perhaps in the years before. And then I finally got my diagnosis and, was put on the trial.
So what about the future for you then? Are you hoping that whatever happened to you back in 2003 and 2004, that the effects will be even longer lasting than the last 11 years?
It's the question I've always asked the doctors. Is this a cure? Is it something else? Is it a treatment? And their answer has always been, you've had 10, 11 years of fit health. If that continues, that's great. And that's the way I look at it as well. If it continues, brilliant. The good news, of course, today is now that the drug's been licensed, if I needed to have the treatment again, it's now available to me. I could have the treatment again and maybe get another 10, 11 years. If I can continue that time and time again, I only need to have it about another 4 or 5 times.
And this is good, because this is my understanding that it can both be used in MS patients who've had other treatments before where perhaps they haven't been so effective, but also in patients who've not had any treatment, perhaps newly diagnosed, that there's a dual application there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that great news for people who've just been recently diagnosed. There isn't that kind of, darkness ahead of them. There is, if I'm an example of people who've had the treatment who are now fit and healthy, great. If other people can have 10 years of health, wonderful.
So it's a brilliant day for Professor Compston and his team.
Absolutely, and they've been brilliant to me. I mean, I've been up there for the last 10, 11 years, and they've looked after me every couple of months, seeing them.
Continued good health and success to you. It's nice to meet you. That's one of the subjects of the original trial back in 2002, Anthony Dean from Cambridge, who is symptom-free and very chipper some 11 years on.